Hey y'all, it's Robert, and today at the Sweet Impact, I'm going to be showing you how to cover a cake with fondant using the draping method. In the last video, I showed you all how to cover a cake using the paneling method. This time we're going to be doing the draping method, and we're only going to have to use one piece of fondant for this, unlike the paneling method, which uses two. But you can run into a few obstacles. You could accidentally tear the fondant, and it's also a lot harder to get this as smooth as with the paneling method. But I'm going to show you this way just in case you want to know how to do it, and there's a few tools that you'll need in order to do this. You're going to need some type of ruler, so you can just use a regular ruler, or you can use a tape measure. You're also going to need cornstarch. This is going to prevent the fondant from sticking. You're going to need some type of knife. You're going to need fondant smoothers. I like to use two for this, and I'm going to show you the trick with these. And the last thing you need is a rolling pin and some type of non-stick mat. So before I begin to prepare the fondant, I need to measure the cake so I know how much fondant I really need to roll out. And I'm going to either use a tape measure or a ruler. I'm going to show you both ways, and it's really up to preference for which one you like best. So with a tape measure, I'm going to start on one side of the cake and then go all the way around. And I see that that is 18 inches. So I know that I need to roll out a circle that is 18 inches in diameter. And then if you use a regular ruler, what you do is that you place it on the side of the cake, and I see that's 5 inches. So I have to make sure that I multiply that by 2 to cover for both sides, so that's 10. Then I'm also going to lay it across the cake, and I see that that's 8 inches. So if I do the 8 plus 10, that's 18 inches. So either way, you're going to get the same number. It's just really up to preference for which one you like better. I'll let you use the tape measure. It's just a lot faster, and you can see the number right offhand. Okay, so I have my fondant here, and I'm just going to prepare this. So I just need to knead it first. It's going to soften it up, making it a lot easier for me to roll out. You know you have your fondant prepared when you can pull it and it stretches. That's how you know it's really good, it's ready to roll out. And you really want this because if you pulled it and it just snapped, you already know that it most likely is gonna rip when you try to add it to the cake. So that's what you're trying to aim for. So now we're just going to add a little cornstarch to our work area. This is going to prevent our fondant from sticking, and then we can roll it out. Another thing about the fondant before we roll it out is we're about to roll this out into a circle to cover our cake. So we're going to start with a circle. But if we had a square cake or any other kind of shape, you want to start off with that shape, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to roll out. Whenever I see my circle losing its shape, I then move my rolling pin and to start moving it that way, so that way I can maintain as much of a circle as I can. Okay, so rolling out my fondant, I can see a few air bubbles, and the earlier we can pop these, the better. So I'm going to take a pin, and at an angle, I'm just going to insert those into the air bubble and get rid of those. And it's best to do this as early as you can, so as you continue to roll out the fondant, it'll kind of cover up those holes. If you wait until the very end to do this, you can actually make a larger hole into the fondant when you try to drape it over the cake. So I almost have enough fondant rolled out, and what I'm basically looking for is to make sure that I have 18 inches both ways of this circle to make sure that I have enough room to cover this cake. So you want to make sure that you use some type of ruler or measuring tape to measure it out. But on my mat, I actually have some measuring circles, and this furthest circle is actually 18 inches. So I'm just making sure that I go past that so I can make sure I have enough for this. If you don't have that, just make sure that you measure it in some type of way to make sure that you have enough. Okay, so I have enough fondant rolled out now, and as you can see, I didn't really end up in a circle, but that's okay. But the last thing I want to do with my rolling pin is just take it and drag it across the fondant to make sure that I get rid of any imperfections so I can have a really smooth top. And now with a knife, I'm just going to go around this and just clean this up to make sure that I kind of keep more of a circle. It'll make it a lot easier to cover the cake when it's an actual circle. Before I drape the fondant over the cake, I need to make sure that it's actually going to stick to it. So this is ganache and it sits really dry. So I need to make sure that it gets a little moist, that way the fondant can stick. So I have a steamer here and I'm just going to use this to moisten up that outside ganache. I'm just going to lightly do this because I don't want to melt the ganache, just enough that it actually sticks to it. I just steamed the cake, so it's now ready for the fondant to be added to it. If you're going to be using a cake that's covered in buttercream, make sure that you freeze it first. That way that the buttercream doesn't lose its shape as you add the fondant to it. Now I'm gonna take the fondant and add it to the cake. So using my rolling pin, just gonna place it on the fondant, drape it over that rolling pin. Then I'm gonna quickly add it to the cake. Starting away from me, I'm gonna gently fold this over the cake. Okay. Now I'm gonna take a fondant smoother, and I'm just going to make sure I don't have any air bubbles trapped underneath the fondant. And then moving quickly, I'm going to start using my hand to rub down the cake to press the fondant against it. And I want to make sure that I get the edges right here first, because this is where you can get a tear in the fondant, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so now just going to keep going around the cake, and with my hand going in a downward motion, making sure that it sticks to it. So I have the fondant draped all around the cake, so I'm just gonna take a fondant smoother and make sure that I don't have any air bubbles underneath. And if I do, again, I'll take a pin and pop those. And this fondant smoother is also gonna help any imperfections in the fondant that I may have done with my hands. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a knife. I'm just gonna remove the excess fondant. So just going to go around the cake. I'm gonna remove that. And now I can just clean up this fondant. So again, taking my fondant smoother. Again, if I see any air bubbles, what I can do is try to push it down to escape from the bottom. All right, now I'm gonna take a knife and I'm gonna get as close as I can to the cake to really clean this up and get a really good finish onto this cake. The cake is now all covered with fondant, but as you can see, the edges aren't really sharp, and that's the thing that happens with draping fondant. That's typically what happens, but we can try to fix it just a little bit. So I'm gonna take 2 fondant smoothers, and what I'm doing is I'm just gonna pinch that fondant to create those sharp edges. So right at the top, right at the side, I'm kind of just pinching these 2 together. And this creates a sharper edge, but the best way to get extremely sharp edges is to do the paneling method. Okay, so With the two fondant smoothers, I was able to pinch to fondant so that really gets those sharp edges. So this is the best way that you can kind of do it to get that. But again, the paneling method is pretty much going to be the best way to do this, but this is a really good workaround to do that. Okay, so here we have our cake covered in fondant using the draping method, and we even have those sharp edges. Again, this method isn't the easiest. I prefer the paneling method. I think it's a lot easier to get those sharp edges, and it's not as easy to rip the fondant like you could with the draping method, but it still gets the job done. So I hope you all like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if there's any other tips or techniques that you want me to show you how to make, let me know in the comments below. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next video.
We can edit that bit out, right?
Hey y'all, oh, I'm already messing up, okay. All right. And for this video, you're gonna need fondant smoothers, and I like to use 2 of these. I was doing so good, oh my gosh. Okay, in the last video, sorry, okay. So before I add, my hands are dirty. Okay. Perfect example of why this is difficult. My fondant just ripped. So, and we even have those sharp corners, edges, not corners. All right. And we even have sharp edges. Oh my gosh. Okay. A few tools that we need in order to cover a cake with fondant. No. Here we have our cake. Nope. So, nope. This is gonna really prepare that fondant to get it soft. Nope. Okay, so you know you have your nope. And you'll just use a ruler to measure out that. Nope. So I hope you all like this video. If you did, nope. It's not a nope. Okay, so here we have our final using the panel draping. Oops. All right. And if there's any other cake related videos that you want to see me make, that doesn't make sense. All I make is cake related videos.